Straw Hut Media.
From Straw Hut Media, this is Brandi Glanville, Unfiltered.
Hey, Ryan, how are you?
I'm recording.
Okay, great. That's your job.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I left my car at the podcast that we had yesterday, and I was going to go get an IV. I went into my garage. I was like, yep, it's not here.
Well, so last night or yesterday or all of the day yesterday was pretty wild.
Fun. It was so fun. I had the best time. Everyone was like so nice, and it was like just a great time.
Did you get your AI skin?
Not yet. I mean, I don't think they're doing it yet.
They are. They said it only takes seconds. They just got to take some photos.
Oh, they sure. I definitely got the lowdown, and I'm excited. It seems like, hello. I kept on joking. I'm like, if I just lay down and take my AI scan so that I can make money while I go to sleep.
That's exactly the point. That's exactly it. That's what you're going to do. I
know, but I was just we were doing crazy shit last time. We were like doing charades and doing all of these different, people were quitting and throwing things, but it was like in the best way, like not in a bad way, in a fun, super fun way.
Was it just you and James?
No, it was both Josh's, James, Nancy. Also went to Disneyland. She's a Disney princess name, and she went to Disneyland.
She does have a Disney princess name. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Elsa, is she going to go to dinner with you? You're going to dinner with them tonight, right?
Yeah.
Good.
So, yeah, it was a good time. I'm just tired. Couldn't fall asleep once I got home. My dog was so mad at me. He kept on pawing at me to play because I was gone all day. Oh. And so, I'm a horrible dog. I feel bad.
Because I saw your text this morning. I woke up at 7 and I saw the text. And it came in at 1:30 a.m. And I was like, oh, shit. Brandy's not going to...
No, I'm not hungover or anything. We were actually it was a lot of talking.
I'm just so glad that you were able to make it.
What do you mean? I don't show up? That sounds horrible.
Well, I just I just had the feeling that it was going to be bad. Yeah.
Do I sound? I'm not even hungover.
No, you sound great.
I'm literally just tired.
Yeah, you sound great. I can't see you, but you sound great.
Because I slept with my makeup on and I do not look great. Well, I tried to sleep with my makeup on. I should have just got up and washed my face since I was not sleeping. But
well, you tell me that you like when they're remote to do it with no video because then you can be feisty.
Well, feistier because if they can see you, then they're you feel bad about being an asshole.
So
yeah, it's better for me.
So for this guest that we're gonna have on, how feisty are you gonna be?
I understand where he's coming from wholeheartedly.
Okay.
However, he's done one reality show.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard for him to have the perspective that a lot of us that are OGs that have been doing it for years have. So I'm interested to hear what he has to say. And I fully agree that there should be some protection and that there should be some sort of union. I want to hear what he has to say because I just don't. Every time someone brings up a positive point, I can shoot it down because not on purpose. I'm just playing the bad guy because I know what the networks are going to do.
Yeah.
So, and if you join this union, guess what? You're never going to work. I don't know. I want to hear what he has to say. He seems like a smart guy. I watched his season of Love is Blind.
Well, do you know what do you think it's going to make a union work?
I think that we're going to need a big sister. We need SAG-AFTRA to make a division for unscripted talent.
So you think that his union thing would have to connect with a larger talent
Absolutely,
union? Because
otherwise it's, David and Goliath situation. You need everyone to band together and say, I'm not going to work out of network, unless, I'm union. And there's so many people that are willing to, work for almost nothing just to be on TV. So that's where I think the struggle is going to be.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm very interested to hear how this goes.
Me too. I'm I want to know, but again, I'm a little bit of a pessimist when it comes to this, although I agree with him and that we all should be protected, but well, we'll see.
Let's bring him on.
All right. Hello, Nick. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little hungover, I'm not going to lie, but welcome to Brandi Glanville Unfiltered.
Thank you for having me on. And don't worry, I've been there plenty of times and probably will be plenty more.
Yeah, I hear that you're going through a divorce, or have you already gone through the divorce?
I have gone through the divorce. That was official sometime in January.
Okay, so I know that we're here to talk about more of what, the union, kind of non-union union thing that you started and for reality television, but I want to talk a little bit about the show.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I mean, when you sign up for a show like this, you have to have your ducks in a row. You have to make sure that like everything's handled for the whole, however long it's going to be. You can't just like not get home and go back to like, oh my God, I have unpaid bills. I have this, I have work, I have all of that stuff. I mean, you had to have expected that, right?
Well, they actually tell you that once you're finished with your first 3 weeks, which you do 2 weeks in the pods and then 1 week, for us, it was Mexico. I think other places where they went for other seasons, but they tell you like, no, you go back to your normal life. When you get back, you go back to work, and then we'll film in the evenings and film on the weekends, and we'll work around your schedule. And so they kind of set a bit of a false precedence. And there were, things like deaths in the family and illnesses and stuff like that popped up that we just weren't really like able to handle. Instead, we had to do a cake tasting.
Did you feel like you definitely couldn't do it? You couldn't say there's a death in the family, I'm going to go? Or did you feel pressure not to be able to go?
So there's a lot of pressure, as you know, all the time, right? Because they're spending, I think I heard, I don't know if this is true, it's like almost $1 million a day to film that show, which makes sense when you think. That's not true, you said?
No, that's not true.
Yeah, probably not. Wouldn't surprise me. But whatever they're spending to film the show, right? They put a lot of pressure on you about the crew and the this and the that, and we have to get the scenes and all that stuff. So even when they knew, they would just kind of like downplay some of the stuff that was going on. And, whether they said, no, you can't leave. No, but it was pressure. And when it would be brought up, it would just be downplayed. It'd be like, well, let's just get through this and then you can go handle it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people fall kind of victim to that because ultimately, if there is a death in the family or, and my contracts are like, basically they own you and I get that. But like, if there is a death in the family or there's an family emergency, they can't tell you not to leave. So as much as people say pressure, like if you have that, you're allowed to leave. Like pressure will get you nowhere in court. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I had a friend on a housewife show and she's like, well, production wouldn't let me leave. My grandma was, dying. And I'm like, well, I've been doing housewives for a long time and other shows, and you absolutely can leave. Like you can't, because, a lot of these shows, the producers are independent contractors, as I'm sure you know.
Yep.
So their number one is getting the show done at any cost, but they can't force you to stay if you're having an emergency. So
I think you're totally right on that. And I also think too, one of the things that is in our contract specifically for Love is Blind, that if you leave at any point without producer's permission, you can be fined $50,000. So that's kind of drilled into your head through the lawyers, through the producers. So when you're a rookie in reality TV, like we all were for Love is Blind, like you read that contract, I don't think everyone read the contract like I did, but you read that contract and, that puts sort of like the fear of God in you. Like who has $50,000 to pay to a giant production company like Kinetic? And so until you kind of know your rights, which I think one of the things we're trying to do with the foundation is go through these contracts and say, hey, this is not legally binding. This section doesn't.
And you know what they're going to do is they're going to say, thanks, next. You know what I mean? This is the problem.
No, I know.
And no, don't get me wrong. Like, I do believe there should be, if they're going to implement HR on these shows now and implement all of these things that protect them, they have to then protect us like After SAG does. Like, I am, a member of After SAG, but on reality TV, we don't have a union. We can work 18 hours. We can, there's nobody limiting alcohol. In fact, they're pushing alcohol. Because it's reality juice. But if they're going to have,
That's funny. I'm going to borrow that.
Right? Yeah, but it is.
Yeah. It is.
If they're going to have these rules set in place to protect themselves, then I truly believe that we should have rules that protect us, which we don't. We are the bottom of the barrel when it comes to talent and entertainment, even though we get the highest ratings,
That's exactly right. And that's exactly why we started the foundation. It is. It's totally fucked up. And the other thing that you mentioned that I think I haven't really thought too much about, but they do have the opportunity to put all these protections in place for themselves through the contracts and through the way that they run production. And you are like, we're viewed as the bottom of the barrel. And I thought, too, that's kind of what the industry thought of us, but that's actually not necessarily the talent industry. That's not necessarily the case. They actually,
they just want us to think that. I mean,
exactly.
we get the great numbers. We give them great TV. In fact, I just found out the last show I did, Traders, just got nominated for an Emmy. It's reality. It's a game show. I mean, that's amazing, right? Like that's
the one you just finished, right?
Yeah, I finished it like 6 or 7 months ago, but that's a big deal, and that's unscripted. That's reality. So if we're getting these nominations and everything, I think we need to be treated better, and we need things put in place that protect us as much as it protects them. Like working 18 hours in a day and not having anything, getting pushed to drink alcohol and told to bring the party and all of these things. And then them turning around saying, oh, you did something bad. I'm like, oh, you mean on the 18th hour of the last, you know what I mean? I'm like,
the 10th shot.
Right. And I'm like, so why were we working so many hours? It's just, it's a lot of bullshit. And go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, they're just now kind of putting this HR situation into place for these shows, which we know they want us unhinged on these shows. Mm-hmm. So they can't say, get unhinged. And then, by the way, you're in trouble for getting unhinged.
Right. Well, and even if you don't get in trouble for getting unhinged, you get the edit that makes you look unhinged or even maybe more unhinged than you actually were. And so the public has their perception of you at that point.
No, that's what I said. I'm like, it's not what they leave in, it's what they leave out, because you're not going to get
smart.
A well-rounded version. They're going to give you highlights of our bad behavior, and that's fine. That's what we sign up for. But when they start policing us and mistreating us and, acting like, I'm just so frustrated with it all. Honestly, I've been doing this for 13 years now.
I don't know how you've done it for 13 years. Like all the shows getting kicked off, being brought back. Like, I don't know how you do it.
Well, I have no choice. I'm a single mom. So,
gotcha.
And like when, with it is a lot of money and it falls into your lap and you're like, oh, I'm getting paid to be myself. There's for me, I'm so used to the haters and the backlash and all that shit. I'm fine with it. I don't care anymore. But when it comes to the companies themselves, we're going to investigate and see what happened. I'm like, you're going to investigate yourself? And, guess what? Right. You're not going to find yourself guilty. So that's great. Can we get somebody from the outside to investigate this shit?
Right. And that's one of the things that I really want to fight for is we need mental health professionals that are not part of the production, because I've heard horror stories from some of the cast members that have reached out that I've talked to where they think that even when there is a mental health professional, they're actually just feeding what they find out to the producers. And that's horrifically harmful to an individual.
What's funny is, I was talking to this therapist that they had me talk to because I'm insane, obviously. And he's like, don't you have psych people on every show, when you're having a hard time? I'm like, no, they want us to blow up and go fucking not nutso balzo to the wall. That's what they're waiting for. But when I did shows over in the UK, they had a psych professional always there. When I did Traders, there was the same guy. I'm like, oh my God, hi. We go way back. But so the UK, they operate differently. They were more worried about us, as human beings. Because, I forgot to tell you, we're human fucking beings.
It's what I always say. I lead with that. Don't forget that when you watch these shows, there's a human being behind that character that they've crafted.
Yeah, but people don't get that. Like, I'm like, we're trying to entertain you. Stop being haters. Like, just take it, have a good time with it. But that said, like, over the years, there's been so many times when we, filmed all day, you're fucking exhausted, and, you sign this contract that basically kind of gives your firstborn child away.
Right.
Yeah, no, like, I did Housewives for so long. My sister's a lobbyist and a CPA and all these fancy things. And she read the contract. She's like, I will never fucking be on that show with you. I'm like, why? She's like, have you read your contract? I'm like, girl, I got to do this. I have no choice. Like, she's like, it's the worst contract I've ever seen. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want, and do whatever they want with the footage. I'm like,
defame you, misrepresent you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think they're very careful they're very careful to protect themselves.
Right.
And you can't, like, there's a clause in most of the contracts that you're not allowed to sue for defamation. Yep. You're not, so they are very careful in these contracts. That's why my sister's like, if you do something, you're fucked. Like, I'm never going on that show with you. And this is like every single show, over the years, it's basically the same contract.
I'm shocked no one's like really addressed it yet, to be honest.
Well, I think that they make you feel like you're just lucky to be there.
Oh, yeah. You're going to get a following. You're going to make $1 million off of this. Like, that's the stuff they feed you.
Right. And like the second you complain, guess what? You're replaceable.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly right.
Bye. I tell everyone like that, like, well, they did this, they did that. I'm like, you might want to shut up because you're replaceable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for a long time, that was my mentality. Like, I don't want to, I want to do the right thing. I want to make everyone everyone happy because I feel like I'm just lucky to be here. But that's a lot of manipulation that goes into that feeling.
That's exactly right. And I think, from my experience on Love is Blind, and I get that precautions had to be taken. Like, I knew I wasn't going to have access to my phone or the internet for 3 weeks. I made my arrangements with work. I made my arrangements with my pet. Family had an emergency contact, all that. But then when I got there, they took my wallet. They took my credit cards. They took my cash. They took actually, I don't think I had cash, but they just take your wallet, passport, all of it. And then so that's another contributing factor to feeling stuck. But like, they basically strip away your humanity. And then you're sitting there like, oh, I really can't do anything. I really can't sing anything.
That's part of the manipulation. Like, so a lot of these game shows that I do, they come in, the second you get there, they go through your luggage to take away anything and everything that, like, you're holding onto your phone to the last second. Yeah. And you're like, no. And like, they'll take away medication so that they can monitor our medications. They have to give them out to us every morning. And that's more for the safeties of others. But you also just feel like you're trapped.
Yes, that's exactly right. And one of the analogies I like to say is, imagine if I actually, when we were filming in the studio and in the pods, and they literally you'd film for 18, 20 hours, you'd get a couple hours of sleep at a hotel, they'd ship you back, you couldn't leave your hotel room, you're like literally a prisoner. And imagine if I decided to just run. What am I going to do? Like, hey, I've been held hostage from a reality TV production, help me. Do you have an ID? No. Do you have any money? No. Who are you? Doesn't matter at that point, right? But you have run out before?
Oh, I mean, I've gone into doors that say do not enter. I like to break the rules, but Meta World Peace, I think he's back to a runner test. He actually broke out of the Big Brother house. Like, he went into the diary room. All we heard was all of this banging around. And they're like, so Meta's free. Meta's out. He's out. And then like, oh, I loved it. Because if anyone was going to, because you do start to feel claustrophobic and you have no concept of time. We didn't know if it was light outside, dark outside.
Same.
If they were tricking us with the clocks, because it's all a mind fuck, right?
Yeah.
But, we signed up for that. I think the game shows are a little...
They have some different rules, I think, some different laws.
You're a little more protected. For me, I felt more protected on the game shows, even though they had, my wallet, my this, my that, because we had someone to go and talk to. We had the psych person, you know, somebody had to leave and go to the hospital on one of the shows, but it's not so like, you're lucky to be here. We're taking it. The first time you feel kind of like, I don't want to say the word, but,
I mean, you can say it.
no, I can't.
Oh, okay.
Actually, you just feel like, oh my God, what? Just, you know, you're stripped of everything. I mean, you get used to it after a while, but like, I understand how you feel, because the first time that all happened, like someone's going through your luggage, your underwear, your, you know, looking at all your shit, like going over your medications, which is no one's business, but we signed a contract.
Yeah.
And, you know,
that's the part that was really like took a long time after the show for me to reflect on, because they did it so slowly. Like first they pick you up at the airport. You're like, oh, you guys can't talk to each other. Everything needs to be on camera. They transport you to, if I remember correctly, it was like a piece of the studio we were filming in, but it wasn't set. And then we sit at different tables and they feed you lunch. And then they're like, okay, it's time to take your phones. And then they do that. And that's a slow 1-by-1 process, because you can't be close enough to talk to each other. And then it's like, okay, we're going to give you a bag. We need you to put your wallet and your passport in here. We'll zip it up, lock it, and then you'll get it back when you're finished. And so you're just kind of like, oh, okay, well, I knew, I guess the phone is gone. Okay. And then it's like, okay, now open your bags, where they go through and they check any medication, or they make sure you're not hiding some electronic device or something like that. And it's just, so it's like this slow process where they just slowly strip these things away from you. And it's funny because I've said this recently, because I recently met someone who escaped a cult, and what she described, I'm like, how did you end up there? That was like my biggest question. Like, what was it? And it was a slow process, just like that, where it was first, you're going to give up your ID and we'll have it for you if you need to leave for something. And then, by the end of a couple days, she had new parents that they just assigned to her. And it was just like a slow process where you just kind of like don't know that it's happening until you look back on it and you see how crazy it actually is and manipulative.
Well, they treated you guys with kid gloves, because the second we arrived, they were like, open your suitcase. Like, it's just, I mean, you're very lucky it went down like that. I think they did that because it was your first reality show.
I was going to ask
and
that.
And because they wanted to make you not, like, because people freak out.
Oh,
they
yeah.
really, I mean, that's why we have the psych on the game shows. We do have like the psych evaluation, and they asked, about some of the other shows. I'm like, no, they don't want you to feel comfortable. They want you unhinged. But then when you're unhinged, they can't come in now and police it unless they're going to treat us the way they're treating themselves.
Right.
Right. If they get to like be careful and protect themselves with HR, then protect us. We need a union. We really do.
I couldn't agree more. And I think too, and you alluded to this earlier, the challenge, which is one of the things we talked about with the foundation, like, what are we, a 501c3? Are we trying to form a union? Are we a 501c4, which means you can lobby the government? And, we have obviously long-term plans, but I think the most difficult thing is we're not even labeled as workers by the National Labor Relations Board, which is one of the things I want to ask you your thoughts on that, on being workers. But the fact that we're not considered workers means we're not protected by whistleblowing laws, labor laws, anything like that. And if we're going to take a first step, that needs to be the first step, because otherwise they're just going to be like, okay, you are in the union, you will do it. You're not in the union, and they'll just continue, because there's an endless supply of regular people, right?
That's what I'm afraid of. I feel like you almost are going to be blacklisted if you go and join this union and say, we want to be treated like human beings. And they'll say, guess what? Just like when somebody strikes, like the teachers strike, they go out and get people that'll work cheaper and will cross the picket lines. So it's almost like a double-edged sword. So if you join this union and you're here for the union, they're like, yeah, good luck. We're going to find people that will do this shit for free, even cheaper than you guys, and not ask to be protected.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a long, I'm here for it, but it's going to be a long road. And I have a feeling some of the bigger companies, until they feel like they have no choice, they're going to continue to use other quote unquote talent that'll work for nothing because there's a million people out there that want to be famous, that want to be on TV.
And those are the ones that say you signed up for it. You're not a worker. You're just being filmed in your life. And I get that. And I think that's probably a good, 10, 20% of the population thinks that way. And I do think it's going to take a lot of time and figuring out like what's the best first step after getting or second step after getting labeled as workers. Because I think when people know the opportunity is going to be there if we all stand together, and you will make more money, you will have better working conditions. I think that's where we got to get that groundswell of people in, whether it's a specific city on a specific show or with a specific production company, which is going to be a challenge for sure. But that's where it's going to have to start a little smaller than I think we would want it. We're not going to be UPS with the biggest strike in history coming up, or the WGA.
But with Amazon, who gives a fuck about UPS? And I'm not saying that like literally you can send anything with Amazon now. Like they are taking over. It's like, it is like insane. It's almost like, what's the word?
And now they have their own delivery service, which
I know, that's what I'm saying. And they have a coffee bar and they have their own wines. I'm like, what the fuck, Jeff Bezos?
They have their own wines?
Yeah. Well, I'm in LA. I don't know where are you?
I'm in Chicago.
I mean, it's a big city, but yeah, there's a one-stop shop with coffee and wines and Amazon. Like they have other stuff in there, but they have their own brand. Too. Yeah. And I'm like, Jesus, like what are they not doing? And with that, all the small businesses are going out. It's kind of comparable. Like you have this giant Amazon. Let's say you have this giant company. What is it? Warner Brothers, right? And all the little people around, like Warner Brothers is now doing everything that Amazon's doing. Mm-hmm. So, but with people instead of products, because it really is like all the small businesses are going out. So all the people that, want a union and want to be protected by, can't help you. You're no longer hireable. It's just very frustrating because I've thought about it so hard.
And it's like a race to the bottom where, like you said earlier, like, yeah, okay, we'll have people that will strike, but then there's also people that are so desperate that they'll cross a picket line and make significantly less money than they're worth. And it's just super depressing. And that is very, mirrors reality TV, right? If I said no, I don't, and I met someone who actually was a lawyer, read the contract. She reached out to me. We got together a couple months ago and she's like, here's when I went through the contract. I said, no. And they ended the conversation. So they just on to the next.
The contracts are crazy, but like everyone's like, well, you should ask for this. I'm like, guess what? They will get someone else. I mean, like it's that simple.
I had to ask mine to be amended for work because apparently in ours, once the show comes out, they own every media appearance for you, and you can't do anything without their permission. And I was like a VP at a software company, so I had to go and do interviews on in publications and go on podcasts and be a public figure for the company and our product. And I was like, you guys got to amend that because I have to be able to do work. No,
they own you for like you even have to get permission. They're like, okay, you're going to shoot this in May. This happens a lot of times. We don't know when it's going to come out. Maybe it's going to come out the following May. So they say they own you until it airs. So what? So I'm doing one job in May and I can't work until whenever you guys decide to air this. It's just, be careful what you sign up for. I really like, as much as I'm here saying I feel like we should be treated the same way that SAG-AFTRA treats their actors. They're not better than us. I married one. Trust me, I know this. That was a dick. That was a dick thing to say, but no, we're all equal people, but in the eyes of television actors, they're royalty and we are the side chicks. Like they're the wives, we're the side chicks, and we get treated that way.
I agree. But you know what I think and what I've noticed, and I've talked to some people at SAG, I've talked to some people in SAG, the perception I think is changing because I think they're looking, and SAG is possibly striking soon as well. I think they're looking at reality TV because when these strikes happen, WGA, SAG,
the writers' strike,
yeah, it just increases reality TV production. That's been the history all the way back to the 80s. And so what I think is happening is now they're looking at like, oh, wait a minute. If they're going to just discard us to the side and just produce more reality TV and less scripted television, then maybe we need to look at them better so that it's not just dirt cheap for them to do 5 more reality shows.
Right, because they need content more than anything. Like after COVID, everyone was out of content. So they were like making shows left and right because we all binged everything that was on TV.
Mm-hmm. It's the only thing to do.
Yeah, so it was just like, now they're out. There's so many shows going on. And I think with the writer's strike, you're right. They're looking at it like, God, these kids are not kids. These people are kind of crossing the picket line because they're making reality TV, which we know, well, it's not scripted. We'll just say non-scripted.
Right.
And they don't need writers for that. So they're taking jobs away from us.
And they don't need actresses and actors either. Right.
And so if they could protect us a little bit, then if we could all come together and have a division of SAG-AFTRA that was unscripted, like I think doing it on our own is almost next to impossible.
Don't worry, I'm not doing it on my own.
No. I don't mean you. I'm just saying like it's a David and Goliath situation.
Exactly. And that's why I think for us, the best thing that we have to figure out as a collective unit, or at least some majority of us, is we need to figure out like what is the best way to go about this and what's the path we're going to go into, because it can go like, is it going to be a division of SAG? Is it going to be, a upstart? Like those are the things that I'm working to find out with now and using my network and my resources to do that, because it's a beast. And because reality, cast members now are a dime a dozen, and that's not meant to be insulting. There's just so much reality TV that, it's difficult when you're in that unscripted world. And then, your instance, you're relying on it. So like, let's say you decide that you want to be a part of this union, and then all of a sudden you're out of work if we're not careful and we don't do it the right way.
It's 100% true. Like, I think that with the writer's strike and everything that maybe with everything going on in SAG, we'll see it would protect them as actors to protect us.
Exactly. And that's where I think the shift is happening now, that they're looking at it like, well, if we strike and there's more reality TV, like we're losing bargaining capabilities, right? And I also think the other interesting thing to me with all of this is there are so many people that have reached out and they're like, I support what you're doing, but I can't be public about it, whether they're scared about contracts, whether they're, there's some people are doing more shows and making more money, or being ambassadors for Netflix and making more money. So it's like, where do you cut the hand that feeds you? And, I even for me, like I thought about that and I realized I'm like, I probably would never do another show anyway. And then I was like, but I still think like everyone deserves to be treated like a human being. And we are workers, which let me ask you that, because I hear this a lot. People say in opposition of the foundation and opposition of what I'm trying to do, they say, well, you guys aren't workers. You're just being yourselves.
Reality TV is a lot of fucking work. Yeah. It is a lot of work. It is such a joke. I mean, like people, like I always joke, yeah, I get paid to be myself. It's great. It is emotionally like it can be devastating. We had somebody on the first time season I did Housewives, one of the husbands committed suicide.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
This is real shit. Like it's not made up shit. This is like emotionally draining. Like you go through depression. Like it's a lot. But again, this is why I'm on the fence. I'm not saying like, I just don't see, unless a bigger company gets involved, like SAG-AFTRA gets involved, I don't see how this works, because even if like we get all these people that have done one show or 10 shows, there's still a million people out there outside of the union that will work and cross that picket line.
That's the biggest challenge I know we're facing.
That's why I'm like, if you can figure out a way to make it work, then I would want to be involved. But like, I'm going over and over and over it in my head, and like everything, we're expendable. It sucks. Because people think
dime a dozen.
Right, because people think we don't have talent. I'm telling you guys, reality TV takes fucking talent.
It does. It takes perseverance too. It takes resilience. It takes emotional strength, not to mention like the physical toll. As you mentioned earlier, you sounds like you film 18-hour days too, and not knowing what day it is or what time it is, or even, you know, sometimes like where you are. Like I had no idea where they were driving me back and forth, you know, from a hotel to a set.
No, we had blindfolds on. It was great. No, not great. I was like, but again, that's what I signed up for. That is the part that, like, I'm not so upset about that. I'm upset more about them being able to police, to protect themselves without protecting us.
Right.
Like you don't get to have your cake and eat it too. So if they bring in this HR and have this on reality television, it changes reality television forever. Mm-hmm. That we will no longer see people getting unhinged and acting crazy, because that's what we sign. I want to watch a train wreck. I don't want to watch people sitting there clutching their pearls, but then I do believe that we should be protected if we're going to be the train wrecks.
Right.
So,
especially if they're going to push you into it through like psychological and physical warfare.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, they can try to produce you. I'm seeing, like, I'm playing the bad guy here. They can say, you know, bring the party. We don't have a show. Do this, do that. You got to help. You know, my job's on the line. But at the end of the day, it's what I want to do. Right?
Yeah.
Unless I'm so fucked up from smoking pot and drinking all fucking day and it's the 18th hour and I'm like, fuck it, I'll do it. You know, like whatever.
Right.
That's where they have to have, this is where I think that the protection part should come in. If they're going to have HR on these shows and we're not going to get a union, then we need to have some rules with HR that protect us as actors, or whatever you want to call it, as talent. I don't see that happening right now, but my mom works for the government. She works in HR. So she's like, this is so wrong on so many levels, Brandi. But I said, well, what, like if I stand up and complain, I'll never work again.
I know.
It's that simple.
It's so, I mean, quite frankly, it's so fucked up, and we got ourselves here by ignoring this stuff for so long.
No, exactly.
Yeah. And I feel you. I think that's awful, especially since you rely on it as a single mom to raise a child and live your life and you know, make a real, I don't know if career is the word. I don't want to use the wrong word, but
no, my career is I'm a mom. I also am a New York Times bestselling author. I have other things I do besides reality TV, but it was a great platform to get me these other opportunities so that I can be home with my boys and I can like be, you know, the best mom to them because I'm not, you know, going 9 to 5 and not home. So that's been super great. And you know, there are good sides to it. I'm not going to sit here and bash it. Like, you know, the platforms are great, but I do think that we're getting to a point where we're so careful with everything we say and do in this world right now. Mm-hmm. But we're not careful with us as humans, the talent that we're just like we don't matter. We're expendable. Like I said, we're expendable, replaceable, all of the stuff. And it's almost like they're setting us up for failure.
I completely agree. I just don't understand. I mean, I get it. Like you have to tell a story, but it just seems like as the seasons of these shows go on too, like they just escalate even higher and higher. So it's not even like when I think back to Love is Blind season 1, which I hadn't watched the show and they reached out to me on LinkedIn, to cast. I watched the show and I was like, oh, there's some messiness, but this is actually pretty genuine. Seems pretty genuine and sweet.
Yeah, that's why I watch it, because for me, you guys are actually getting married, so that's a big real reality where we're not just going to dinner as a housewife and throwing wine. Like at the end of this, that's why I like 90 Day Fiance, and I like the ones where you guys are really putting yourself out there, and you're gonna possibly get married. Brings a whole new realness to the show. But when I watch it, I don't I understand how the housewife shows work and a lot of these shows work. But I've never been behind the scenes on a show like yours where, you know, you do end up possibly getting married. So I just thought it was a little more
serious.
Yeah. And like, and sweet, you know what I mean? And not so reckless.
I completely agree. And that was why I was so cautious throughout the casting process, because I knew how reality TV was produced and I knew what it did to people. And I knew about like the Love Island suicides. I did not know about the housewife one. So I apologize for that. But
no, it's horrible.
It's just awful. And you hear about these things, and this show just looked and felt different. And I had only watched one season of The Bachelor and stuff, so like I kind of had a little bit of you know the inauthentic.
The Bachelor's not sweet. They're too young. They're not trying to get married. They just want to be on TV. Like I can't even watch The Bachelor.
Oh, I mean, one season was enough for me, and I didn't even watch the whole thing. But the thing I noticed in season 2 on my season was some people were there because the show is so big, and they would just casually say things like, oh, I need to lock someone down so that I can go to Mexico and go further. The further you go, the more followers you get and the more money. And it was just like, what are you here for?
On The Bachelor, most of the people there want to be on TV and get the followers, and they probably have a girlfriend back at home, you know?
We had some of those rumors too on my season.
Yeah, but that's so weird to me. Like, why would you sign up? Well, I can't, like again, fame's the one thing you can't buy, but I just feel like watching these kind of shows made reality TV more authentic and sweet. But now I'm sad to hear that you guys had a bad you had a bad experience.
Well, I think, yeah, like overall the experience was rough, right? And it took me a while to look back on it, but it is like, you know, I would justify it by saying basically the things they tell you to say. I'm like, oh, well, I get a platform. Oh, I got married. Oh, and then it was like, oh, and I get the trauma of the divorce. Oh, and it's very public. And I don't want to leave my house. And no one's here to support me. And then I lost my job and I was laid off, and I haven't found a job since. It's been 8 months, and it's because people don't take me seriously because I was on a reality TV show. You know, it's like, it's crazy. Yeah, it's.
But that, like, you got married. You would think that everyone would think that you were there for the right reasons. So that is.
I dare someone to find it anything that they've seen anywhere that I was there for any other reason than maybe it would work.
I want to wish you like good luck on this. I wish I could. I feel like I'll keep on thinking on it, and if I have any like great like aha moments where it could work, I'm a little pessimistic because these are giant companies you're going against. There's so many people. They can't film reality television with rules. If that makes sense.
Not in its current form. They certainly can't. Right.
So I'm at a loss, but I think you're right. I think that we need to be protected, but do I think that there's a million people that will happily step in, take our jobs and do it for next to nothing so that they can be on TV, work 20 hours a day? You know, like I do. So
yeah, I agree. And that's why step one of getting the National Labor Relations Board to declare cast members of reality TV as workers, which there's a precedence. They just did it with, actually, I don't know if they just did it. They recently did it with Telemundo actors and actresses who are not part of anything. And the NLRB, after being petitioned by multiple cast members, they said they are workers. And then when you become a worker, first of all these production companies are going to have to let us know about Section 7 of the National Labor Relations Act, which means you're protected by whistleblowing, which means you can talk about your working conditions. And if everyone starts talking about these working conditions freely instead of being contractually obligated to stay silent and being scared to speak up, then, you know, that's going to be a huge difference. And then you are protected when you try to form a union, because it's illegal to union bust in this country. So there's so many different things, and they'll have to tell everyone they've ever had on a show, like, hey, like, you are now considered a worker and here's your rights based on Section 7 of the National Labor Relations Act. So that right there.
Yeah. That should be afforded to everyone. That is like, yeah, that like just the conditions alone and being able to speak up about it. I mean, I still think you're fucked if you do speak up.
I mean,
but,
yes.
but having, like, I don't know. I see both sides of it, but like, I applaud you for going in and doing this. I wish the best for you. Again, if I can think of anything that would be helpful, I'll definitely reach out to you.
Even just supporting the idea, like you know, if you want to support the foundation, that's great too. We would love to have, you know, an ambassador endorsement, whatever. But I also understand that it's very early on and it's like we're trying to find, you know, our way and our steps and all of that too. But any idea you have, just let me know.
Well, there's a lot of stuff coming up that I will have answers to and for, which will help me better be able to help you if I can.
Yeah.
Or at least give you answers, even if you don't want to hear them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't have them. Like, I'm waiting to hear all of them still. I think they're still trying to fucking figure it out, to be honest. Because a lot of these giant companies, they just had this like huge, what do you call it when people go conference? They did an HR conference for all of these giant companies to figure out how the fuck do they do this with reality TV? Mm-hmm. Because there's people suing. I'm not suing anyone. I feel like I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, but like, I just don't, I just don't like to do that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people suing. There's a lot of backlash. There's going to be, you know, a big expose that's going to come out soon that might help you. I don't know how soon, but it's, you know, it's about reality TV.
About reality TV in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
All across the board, not just Housewives. Just, you know, and how it's, like that will probably be beneficial to you because I think people are starting to wake up and see how this is all working. However, they're scared, you know, everyone's scared. Everyone still wants to get their check, get the bag.
Be famous.
If you give me $40 million, you would never see my ass again.
I don't even think it'd take 40 for me to disappear. No one's tried to pay me off yet.
What's the point of being famous if you're not rich? Like, it's some bullshit if you'd ask me.
I completely agree.
But I'm not rich yet. I'm like, just give me the money and I'll quit.
And shut up. Like,
yes,
I
exactly.
will shut up. I will
go away. I'll be on a yacht somewhere and it will be amazing.
And my goal is to retire to a private island. So I would love to speed that up. If anyone's listening that wants to shut me up.
Yeah, they might put you on a private island. Be careful by yourself.
Good point. And I just disappeared.
Yeah.
And they'll film it.
Yeah, exactly. The reality Tom Hanks movie. What do you call it?
Right, Castaway.
Yeah. But truly, you will be cast away. Well, and it's been lovely talking to you. You seem like you're on a great path. I wish you luck. You're going up the hill.
You know, I was born for this more than I was born for reality TV. I've been organizing in politics since 2008 with Obama, and I work locally and everything. So I do have experience in that more than I do in reality TV. So I'm hoping that background helps.
I think it will, absolutely. And you obviously are passionate about it. And I think that is great because a lot of people are, just like you said, scared to step forward and say, hey, great idea, but can't publicly support you.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people in reality TV feel the same way as you do. But we've all sat, like a lot of us have sat around that have done multiple shows and talked about like good cop, bad cop, and like the bad cop always fucking wins.
Always wins.
It's just right now, but keep at it and good luck to you. And I applaud you. And nice talking to you.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you too. I appreciate you having me on and helping spread this message and word.
Well, I mean, tell me what you think, because I feel like everything you said is valid, yet everything I said to shoot it down is valid.
I do think that you're right, that people get a lot of TV time and they'll do it for free just to be famous, you know?
Yeah.
So, and that is never going to change. Like, but it's like, but when it becomes people like you that people want to see on TV that they know can change a show, make it better, then that's where
it gets it's a little dicey. It's almost like because people don't think that we have talent. Like the reason that the SAG-AFTRA is great is because these people are so talented that they have the right to ask for protection. And the studios want to work with them because of their talent. When people look at reality stars, they don't necessarily see talent. But I think like with SAG-AFTRA, you have to pay dues. You have to, you have to make a certain amount of money and be on TV for a certain amount of time before you're even allowed to be a member. You have to pay. It's just a lot. Like
you have to pay into SAG too, right? You pay something.
Once you start. When you start, you pay, and then you have your dues. So you're paying for that protection. And I don't know, really, reality TV, you don't, especially in the beginning, don't make a lot of money. And
has SAG not tried to get into this battle at all?
I don't open my SAG mail because I don't want to pay any more bills because I'm not on a show right now. Okay. So I'm not talking with them right at the moment. Okay. Like it's hard for me to pay dues when I'm not working and I haven't been on a scripted show in a long time. Right.
Well, that's another thing that is really fucked about it, too, is that like in your situation, like, because you're on a million shows, but you're not they're not regular. They're not reoccurring. And so it's like, it almost like puts you in this no man's limbo land where you keep like, how do you, I don't
exactly.
know.
That's the thing. I think that, yes, it's good. His intentions are really good. And I respect what he's saying. Yeah. It's going to be an uphill battle and we'll see what happens. I wish him the best. And I think a lot of change is coming. I just want to see what that change is.
I want to know about this article that you're talking about. Like, do you know when that comes out?
I know nothing. If I knew, I know that there is one happening, but I don't know anything. They're very secretive about it, which is that they have to be.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that's an interesting conversation. I think it's a conversation that needs to happen, and needs to keep happening.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. I think that just getting that, just putting your one foot in front of the other and starting the conversation is the first move.
Agreed.
Thank you, Nick. Bye.
Thank you. And Brandi, see you next week.
All right. Bye, Rye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Brandi Glanville Unfiltered. Download new episodes every week, and if you haven't already, subscribe. And be sure to leave us a rating and review. And while you're at it, check out some of the other great shows available on Straw Hut Media.